To Movie Club, we're going to be chatting about Dead Man's Curve, or The Curve, as it was renamed, from 1998, starring Matthew Lillard. Right, just going to add everybody in. One sec. Hopefully I'll add everybody in. Okay. And then Joshy. Oh dear, what am I doing tonight? Brain is not functioning. I'm like looking, thinking, who am I adding in? What am I doing? Has anyone come in to join me? Am I on my own? Oh no, is it working? Joshy!
Hello.
Hello, Emma!
Oh.
Ooh, spooky! Emma!
It's always on the door. I can never get it to.
Oh, and I just add Sarah in because I just saw her appear. I get to a point where I'm adding people in and I'm like, who have I forgot? Because I'm like chatting away and then like, oh yeah, I need to concentrate. That's what I need to do. So hopefully Sarah will be with us. Oh, I'm so excited to chat about this film with you guys. See what you think.
Yeah.
Oh dear, it's a bit slow with people connecting tonight.
Oh.
Sarah should be here in a minute, I'm sure. But yeah. Oh, Narissa said she does that every time as well with the camera, the flip way around as well.
I don't know what happened. It's just started happening about a year ago, I think, didn't it? Like it's just started doing it, and I don't know.
Wait a minute.
Can you see?
Does anyone know?
Can you see each other?
That's what I was going to ask.
Yeah, I can see. I can see everyone.
Oh,
Yay!
live! You can see me.
So nice to see you, Shelley.
Oh.
It's been years.
It has.
It has. Oh dear, it's saying Sarah's unable to join for some reason.
Oh no!
Yeah.
Come on, Sarah.
Hop on.
See, Sarah, if you're on a phone or what's it called, iPad, then it will work. If you're on a laptop, it doesn't let you connect, unfortunately. But just keep trying. I'll keep trying to add in, hopefully. Sometimes it does this. It has a little blip. Right, but I'll introduce everybody anyway while we're waiting for Sarah. So obviously we're going to be chatting about Dead Man's Curve, or The Curve as it was renamed, which we'll get into. Or like rolling.
Man's roll.
My rolling impression. Yes, so someone is about to go over the edge. Who's it going to be?
It's Shelley.
So obviously I've got my brilliant co-host Emma Pullar, who's written some brilliant short stories in here, and Joshua Winning, who I've got two of his books here. No, sorry, I don't know. I always do that. I'm like Joshua Winning.
Back at school.
Buy Joshua Winning's books immediately. And hopefully joining us, I'll keep saying she's unable to join, is the brilliant Sarah Daniels, author of The Stranded and Exile, which I cannot find on my shelf anywhere. I'm having this problem lately. But yeah, Sarah Daniels.
Cover.
Oh, it's so good.
Yeah.
So honestly, it's so good. Highly recommend, definitely. I'll just try and add Sarah once more.
Come on, Sarah, come play with us.
Come play.
Sarah.
It might be that it needs, you know what Instagram's like, it has to be updated and off a phone or iPad. Why do I keep forgetting the word iPad tonight? This is not going to go well. But yeah, so the film obviously covers quite heavy topics, including the S word, which I won't mention on the chat in case it gets flagged. So I'll just refer it to as like the roommate died or unalived or something like that. And just be careful in the comments, if you're joining in the comments as well, if you put that word, it might flag it and boot you out. I don't know. I'm just being cautious. So The Curve is by first-time director. Oh, Sarah! Hiya!
I turned it off and on again.
Oh,
Classic.
the classic.
And just that I can't see Sarah, but I can hear you.
I
That's
can
okay.
see. Emma always has one person that she can't see. It's normally me, which is
Bizarre.
like, today she can see me, but she's like, hi, Emma. But I was just saying, our special guest obviously is Sarah Daniels, who wrote The Stranded, and Josh was saying what an awesome cover this is, Sarah. It's so good. And the second book was Exiled, right?
Yes.
And I know I have it from when we did our chat about the mall. I'm sure I know I've got it, and do you think I can find it? No, but I have this one. But I'll pop them up after the chat so you can check them
The book
out.
has exiled itself.
Yeah. I keep having this problem. Like, I know that I moved like 6 months ago, but I've like put books on the shelves in an order, but it doesn't make any sense. So I need to sort them all out again.
You didn't need
But it's just having
to come over.
Yeah.
You need a bookseller to come over and sort your shelves.
Obviously, like my point horror and my like 90s books, absolutely fine. Anything else, it's a free for all, really. Need to organise. Melina said The Stranded is fabulous. Highly recommend.
Thank you.
So The Curve then, or Dead Man's Curve. Got that right, haven't I? I keep calling it Dead Man's Curse.
Yeah.
I don't know what. Hasn't even got a curse in it.
Title.
Calling it Dead Man's Cove.
Cove.
Yeah.
Yeah, that works too.
Yeah. Interesting. So The Curve is by first-time writer director Dan Rosen, I want to say. I don't know whether I'm saying that right. And obviously there was a bit of an in-joke at the start that, you know, from the psychologist saying, oh, I really, you know, people who are first-time directors and first-time writers, and that kind of made me giggle. But essentially this film is about when Chris and Tim discover that they automatically become eligible for higher grades to get into the prestigious Harvard, should their unpopular it is quite unpopular third roommate die, so they set their sights on his swift demise. And the movie obviously focuses around the urban legend that states if a college roommate unalives themselves, the remaining student or students will automatically receive passing grades for the term, but apparently it's a common myth. So whilst they do like help with like accommodation and obviously support with students experiencing grief, apparently this is a bit of an urban legend, or is it?
Yeah, isn't an urban legend, but it's an urban legend.
You never know. And obviously we keep calling it Dead Man's Curve or The Curve. So apparently it was originally meant to be Dead Man's Curve, to the point there was like numerous promotional material all made saying Dead Man's Curve. But apparently the name change was to differentiate the movie from the very similar themed film Dead Man on Campus, starring the guy from Saved by the Bell. Yeah.
That's not why I thought it was. I thought it was because there's another film from the 1960s called The Dead Man's Curve.
Is there?
It's about race cars, I think, and you know the curve that the car takes. Yeah.
Well, funny enough, the Dead Man on Campus film came out the same year as this film, and it's like the same plot essentially.
Suspicious.
Oh, really?
But I've never seen Dead Man on Campus. But from what I read, it was like very similar, but more of a comedy element to it. And yeah, as Narissa said, in the UK it was Dead Man's Curve, and in the US The Curve. So they had to differentiate somehow, I guess. So was The Curve a first time watch for you? Have you seen it before? Obviously the wonderful Narissa suggested for us to watch this one because she said it would go so well with our point horror book this month, which I do agree. Like, now I've watched it, it does go really well with this book. So have you seen it before, Josh?
not only was this like a first time watch, this was a first time ever hearing about this film because somehow it just completely passed me by, which is bizarre because I was like in the 90s, I was obsessed with this stuff. So it really should have like pinged on my radar. So yeah, thank you, Narissa, for filling in that gap in my 90s knowledge because and clueless.
Yeah, I'm the same. I hadn't heard of it until Larissa messaged me about it. And she was like, it was so good to go with this book. So I thought, I'll give it a go. How about you, Emma? Is it first time watch for you?
Yeah, I never heard of it either. I had no idea that that the film existed at all. So yeah, it was first for me.
Oh,
also.
wow. And how about you, Sarah? Have you heard of it
No,
before?
I never heard of it. No, and like Josh, it's weird because at the time I was watching as many movies as I could get my hands on, and so I was into Scream and The Faculty and all of that kind of good stuff, and I would have been about 17. So yeah, it never came across my.
Isn't that strange as well?
They must have really tried hard to bury it because if we all love that stuff and we've never heard of it, what went wrong?
And with the cast as well, you'd think it would have been a big thing.
That's what I was going to say, especially like Matthew Lillard being in it on the back of. Had 13 Ghosts come out by now? No, that was probably after, right?
No.
So yeah, but especially on the back of Scream.
Scream had been out.
Yeah, definitely. So it really surprised me. I was like, I wonder why. And I watched some weird stuff in 1998.
Me too.
Oh, Narissa said, seriously, Josh, that really surprises me. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
I'd have thought Josh had seen it.
Matthew said I'd never seen this film before, and if I'd heard of it, I'd forgotten all about it. Oh. Melina said, first time watch here, and I didn't know it existed. Yeah, Narissa's well. Yeah, she said, you're welcome. She's introduced us to this film. Karen said, having been to uni in the States, I looked up if this was a legit thing in my student support booklets. This is why we need Karen.
Yeah.
And I confirm it is complete nonsense. And I definitely not the reason for my good scores. Are you sure? You've got
test too much, Karen.
You've got a reputation, Karen.
Runners all round.
Snap, snap. And Narissa said, I thought it was more known. Her sister rented it from the video shop, then later I taped it off the TV and watched it loads. Oh, wow.
Oh.
How strange is that?
Yeah. We missed it on the TV as well, guys.
Yeah. Oh,
so when did it come out? Was it 97?
98.
Was it 97?
98 it came out.
Oh, I wasn't in the country, so yeah, I wasn't even in the country. I don't think in 98. No, I wasn't. I wasn't in the UK. Yeah, but you think maybe I might have watched it elsewhere, and I didn't. I didn't see it on the other side of the world either. So we all missed it.
Yeah, it's so strange. It's very uncommon for one of us not to have seen it, let alone not heard of it at all. It's so strange.
Oh, none of us.
Yeah, exactly. So obviously, as I mentioned, the movie was retitled The Curve, but which is a better title, Dead Man's Curve or The Curve? Like, which one do you prefer? Or would you have called it something else? I know we touched upon a couple earlier. Josh?
Dead Man's Curve is very schlocky. It feels like kind of like a tongue-in-cheek kind of title. I think The Curve is quite a good title.
Yeah.
But like you mentioned earlier, you kept getting the title wrong. It kind of looks like it should be called The Curse rather than The Curve.
Yeah.
So I can see why they got stuck because Dead Man on Campus is a great title.
Yeah.
And once you've got that idea in your head, it's so difficult to think of an alternative. So yeah, I could see why they struggled.
Yeah, definitely. How about you, Sarah? Which title did you prefer, or would you call it something completely different?
So I think, my thinking is that when in Dead Man's Curve, it's like the curve of a road, that's what they call a curve, a dangerous curve of road. So I was like, that's what I was expecting from the movie. So I was completely off track with what the movie will be about. And then The Curve, I thought that, yeah, that's okay, because like in America they mark on a curve, don't they? So it might be about academic rivalries and things, but I don't really like it very much.
Yeah.
So I think I'll probably go with something else completely, but I'm so bad at titles that everything always gets changed when I write it. So yeah, I'm not the person to be making it.
I wonder whether that's why we don't know it or never heard of it, because the name just didn't stick, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah.
How about you, Emma? What would you rename it, or did you like one of those titles?
I agree. I thought it was because grading on a curve is why they called it that. That was why I thought it was. Although my husband Chris was like, "Oh, is that what it is?" I was like, "I don't know. It's just what popped into my head." Yeah, but I don't know. I think I agree with Josh as well that Dead Man's Curve is not as fitting as The Curve. I think that's probably that they did the best with what they could when they had to change the title.
Oh, do you know what? That makes so much more sense now, because I thought that it's like Larissa's just put it makes sense stateside as they grade on the curve, whatever that means. Yeah, but I thought the curve was where the lighthouse was, and it was a location. Like I thought that was called the curve.
I thought that as well.
Yeah, so I was like, oh, okay, so that's the curve, Dead Man's Curve. But really, it should be Dead Man's Cove. I don't know. Yeah. It confused me a little bit, but it doesn't take a lot, really, does it? Oh dear. Dead Man's Curve is a better title. I thought that was the original title in the US. RMSJ said, please just remind me of your name. I'm so bad with names. And then the cool people there like Handle, and then I'm like, oh no, why did I do that? Matthew says, it took me until about 10 minutes to associate the title with a grading curve. I never got that at all. Now it makes so much sense. And that's sad because my husband is a teacher and I hear about curves a lot.
That's brilliant.
Oh, sorry, Becky. Of course, Becky. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, Stargazer said, sorry, 10 minutes ago he only just realised. Oh, I love that. So the film seems to cover like multiple genres, whether intentionally or unintentionally, I'm not entirely sure. So there was like thriller, elements of horror, comedy, drama. What did you think the writer's intention was for the film, and what category would you class the film in, Emma?
I felt that it was a thriller. That's what I would have marketed it as if I was going to. I wouldn't have said horror. There wasn't enough blood. There wasn't any, monsters. I would have gone thriller because of the twists as well in it. But I felt it was a bit confused. I didn't think it knew what it wanted to be. Like, it did want to be a bit of everything. So now you said that, Shelley, about it being a bit of comedy, a bit of horror, a bit of thriller. I felt like that's what they were trying to go for. Like, and you've just said new writer, which is interesting because that's what I felt. I was watching a script by a new writer, 100%.
Oh, wow.
And so that makes complete sense to me now. What you've said, and I think it was just trying to do so many things that it got a bit confused with itself. But I can see how it was kind of wanting to be like Scream. Like, it definitely wanted to go for that kind of vibe, but didn't quite get there for me.
Yeah, definitely. How about you, Sarah? What did you think they were trying to go for, or how would you class it genre-wise?
Yeah, I think they were definitely going for thriller, but with that comedy element, like Scream. So I'm completely on board with this level of horror. Like Scream gave me nightmares. It was a little bit too much, although I loved it. So I'm on board with it not being any more horror. But I think I could have gone for more comedy. Like, I think that Matthew Lillard could have been used much more, and that would have made it a kind of more memorable movie.
Yeah, definitely. How about you, Josh?
Yeah, I think so. My thing about Scream is that it's kind of like Scream is a slasher, but really it's a psychological thriller. Like, if you look at how it really works, it is a
Yeah.
psychological thriller. It's got such great characters. It's got great mystery. It's very intelligent. And so I think that this is trying to be like the less slasher version of Scream, maybe.
Yeah.
Like it is more psychological horror, sorry, psychological thriller, but it's like it's just like its sense of fun is so much more twisted than Scream. I think Scream has like a good sense of humor, and this film is very dark in its humor.
Yeah.
So it feels very mean a lot of the time. Like there's some joke that was just like even the bad guy was like, oh wow. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's kind of it's kind of going for thriller, I guess. But I guess because of Matthew Lillard, they will have tried to hit the Scream thing as hard as they could as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't pick up that it was meant to be a comedy, like a dark comedy, until when they're doing the visual for the first guy that's gone over the cliff, and they're all kind of just sitting there, and you've got that whole scene of just for about 2 to 3 minutes of them just sitting there with the candles and then dispersing. And to me, I know that sounds really bad, but I did find that quite funny, because I was like, half of these people because
I find you funny. That's hilarious.
because it's so true. Like half of these people probably didn't even know that guy, and they're sitting there with it.
Also,
I
he's
know I
such
sound
a
really awful.
douchebag. Were they
Yeah,
really sad that he was dead? Because he was awful.
exactly. So to me, at that point, I was like, okay, a bit of comedy element coming into it, because there's no way all them people would be there, because he was a douchebag, essentially.
And also
Yeah.
the song was Amy Mann's "Make a Killing," which was kind of quite a funny sort of
Yeah.
satirical use of
Yeah.
music. So yeah.
Oh, I do love that. And I think the soundtrack to this was really great, and
Mm.
it just gave it, you definitely knew you was watching a 90s
90s.
film. Like that vibe definitely came across for me. And it was like really nostalgic. Like even down to like when they're talking about like the older bands like the Smiths, Joy Division. Like in the 90s, I was really into the Smiths and Joy Division and stuff. So I was like, whoa. It's like it really played into that. Larissa said pulp, so pure black comedy pulp thriller. Yeah, definitely. Matthew said, yeah, I agree with Narissa, pulpy black comedy thriller. Matthew said, I thought it was trying to track with urban legend. Interesting. Yeah. Because did urban legend was urban legend 1998 as well, wasn't it? Yeah. So Sharon says black comedy for me. I enjoyed it. Second watch for me. Oh, Sharon had heard of it before. And Narissa said they sort of didn't know him, but will impose on a tragedy is why Winona Ryder was so attracted to Heathers. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, a bit of a Heathersy vibe there. But I do feel like between like, this is just my opinion, but between 1998 and 2000, I think you had a lot of these like edgy teen thrillers that tried these comedy elements. So I think you had Disturbing Behaviour, Soul Survivor,
Gossip.
yeah. Gossip.
Yeah.
And there was a film called My Little Lie as well, around that time. And it's almost like the writers and directors were trying to get over the peak of the success of Scream, like trying all these different elements to see what they could just peak over that point. Because I know we had like The Faculty, and I know what you did last summer and things like that, but I think they were just trying different things to try and just get over that success of Scream. And for me, that didn't come. I mean, yeah, The Faculty is great, and I know what you did last summer is great. But the change for me came when Final Destination came out, and then it just completely changed again. So do you think like
groundbreaking?
Yeah. So do you think like films like this did suffer with the success of Scream because they just couldn't take off, Josh?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that Scream was such a sort of magical unicorn that nobody could really figure out how they did it. And it's almost like miraculous that they pulled off Scream 2 so effectively, because I feel like that film really captured lightning in a bottle a second time. Obviously, it was all the same crew and cast and everyone, but I actually think that Cruel Intentions was another
Oh,
huge
yeah.
sort of
Yeah,
like,
it was.
like flag in the soil kind of moment where
Mm,
this film actually pales more by comparison to Cruel Intentions than it does Scream, I think,
yeah.
because Cruel Intentions has a similar like really unlikable characters
Mm,
vibe, but that film has depth and
mm,
sort of characters who go on a bit of a journey and evolve, whereas this film has unlikable characters who remain completely almost inscrutable to the end, you know?
Yeah.
yeah,
So,
definitely.
yeah,
Yeah. No,
that's
I
my two
agree with
cents.
that. No, I agree with that. How about you, Emma? Do you think that films around that era struggled with the whole Scream and Cruel Intentions vibe?
Yeah, I think I agree with Josh. Absolutely, they
Mm,
would. And I think the danger is when you admire something so much, and you've obviously they draw inspiration from Scream and the like. When you admire something so much, the danger is that you're so desperate to make it something as great as that you end up doing the opposite.
yeah.
You know, you end up putting too much into it. And coming from, when I was a new writer, I was totally guilty of that. 100%. So I think we all are when we first start out. But yeah, I think that it's hard, especially for new writers, to come in. And I don't know, I can't remember who wrote the Scream script, but I'm pretty sure they weren't they were seasoned. Do you know? You guys might know, but uh, that shows the experience coming through that one.
Yeah.
I feel. I may be wrong, but
Yeah. No, no.
yeah, you can see the experience coming through.
Yeah. No, I agree with that. How about you, Sarah? Do you think it's hard to get on a trend? I mean, I'm not comparing this film to Scream by any means, but it's just the popularity. People were still looking for something like Scream, I think, back in 1998. Do you think it's
Absolutely.
hard?
Yeah, I think it's really hard. I think it happens in books as well, that you get this one breakout, whatever it is, whether it's Scream or The Hunger Games or whatever, and then and people love it. So obviously they want to emulate that, and they want to have something that's kind of similar in vibe, or but there's no reason why necessarily any of these things won't take off in the same way, but they're
Mm,
just not the same. And I think the problem comes when we try to compare them. So
yeah.
maybe we shouldn't be thinking about them as like a lesser Scream. Maybe they're just good enough as they are, and we should give
Mm,
props for that.
yeah, definitely. I think it's hard with this one as well because obviously Matthew Lillard plays quite a similar, well, more psychotic in this film, plays like a similar role. So you kind of do connect him to Stu a little bit in my head, although he's way more sexy in this film, I think. In
There
that,
is something weirdly sexy about him in this film.
it's that white vest.
Yeah,
I tell you, it's the white
it's the
vest.
rings as well. Something, I don't know.
It's just something. I just don't
Yeah.
know. And his skin just seems to glisten, and I got a bit
He's
distracted.
obviously he's had a good couple of years since Scream. He's had some good living,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
He's glowing.
Oh dear. Larissa said, did disturbing behaviour and gossip try comedy? I didn't get those vibes. They probably didn't, Larissa. It's probably my skewed memory. I haven't seen those films for so many years. I do need to revisit though. Matthew said, yeah, there was a slew of films kind of similar to this. Too many to keep up with back then, and they're fun to revisit now. So I'm glad there are so many. That's it, yeah. So we can discover them now. Larissa said this had a different vibe from Scream, I feel, but I can get why anything along the same vibes would get lumped in the same category, yeah. And Larissa also said this felt more inspired by the likes of Shallow Grave. Oh, that's such a good
Yeah.
film. Yeah, that's such a good film.
Yeah, Shallow Grave, that's
Yeah.
great.
Becky said, I think it tries to be Scream because of Matthew Lillard. Yeah, that's it. So, yeah, love Matthew Lillard. That's what, every time we mention his name, that's what I'm going to do. Sorry. You knew it was
Adam
going to happen.
Levine needs to look out.
Oh yeah, poor
Adam
Adam. Don't
Levine,
tell Adam.
who?
Yeah, don't tell him.
Sharon said Hollywood loves a bandwagon to jump on. Yeah.
It's all about the money.
Matthew said glass of water for Shelley. I need a bucket.
Bucket over your head.
So obviously I've actually blushed then. Obviously the film opens up with a title sequence like mixed in between the characters, Tim and Chris plotting the death of their roommate, who's called Rand. So did this set up the premise of the film well for you, or did it give away way too much at the beginning, Sarah?
No, I loved it.
Did you?
Yeah, I did. I love those snippets of insight and actually I found it really annoying because I was watching with my husband and he was just talking over the whole thing. I was like, no, you've got to listen. You need to know the details.
That's what my husband did as well. He was yeah, and I was like, listen.
And I felt really called out by some of it. So when they were talking, when he was talking to his counsellor about what makes, what signs to look for in a suicidal person, and he was like, listens to this music, reads these books, and then he said, underlines anything in the bell jar. And I'm like, I'm a 17-year-old girl, okay.
As we look at our annotated copy on the shelf.
Yeah, no, so I thought it was perfect. I really liked it.
Yeah, I thought it was quite edgy, to be honest. I quite liked it. How about you, Emma? Did you like that opening sequence?
I did, actually. I did. As much as I wasn't a fan of what followed, I thought that was really well done. I really did. I liked cutting in and out from the title sequences and then the banter between the lads. Yeah, I think it set it up well. I don't think it ruined anything at all. We knew exactly what we were going into. We just dropped straight into the story, which I'm a fan of. I'm a fan of, too much setup can be really, really dull, but we're just dropped straight in. This is the thing. This is what's happening. This is what the plot is. Go.
Yeah.
So I like that.
Yeah. How about you, Josh? Did you like that opening sequence?
Yeah. Very, very 90s.
Yeah.
I've definitely seen it done before. I don't know if it's a Tarantino thing, but it definitely...
Yeah.
It was like a really stylish way of getting all that information across in a very quick way. I did struggle to keep up with what they were saying, and I wasn't sure if that was because of the sound design or the fact that I was like eating an egg sandwich and getting distracted by my life. I don't know. It was very good. I was a bit confused because they were sort of delivering it in quite a sort of offhand way, and then it took a long time for them to actually. You'd almost forgotten they were going to do it by the time it happened.
I agree. Yeah.
So it was quite a bizarre but effective opening, I think.
Yeah, even like that first shot that you see, and all you see is their legs, isn't it, or one of the first shots in the bathroom. And I was like, oh, okay, this is kind of like it reinforces that pulpy vibe, 90s vibe a little bit as well. And I was like, oh, okay, I'm into it.
There was also something a little bit film school about the way they introduced Matthew Lillard's character by having a shot looking up at him, which is how you shoot villains in films. Because you're kind of looking up at the bad guy and they're really imposing. So it was quite interesting filmically and linguistically.
Yeah, I think some of I love that. I think some of the shots throughout the film were like, I could see where they were like trying with things, like when Matthew Lillard's doing that speech. I think they're in a bar or something, and he's doing the speech, and it just kind of blacks out behind him and it's just purely focused on him. But in that moment, you're that caught in that scene and watching him and hearing what he's saying, like it really did. And then all of a sudden they bring in the background noise again. And I thought, oh, how cool, how 90s. So I was there for like all the 90s.
They knew he was the best thing in the film.
Yeah. Definitely. Oh dear. So when I was putting questions together, I was trying to think like, how can I ask questions about the plot without having to go into each plot device that happened. So I basically just made a question that said, was the plot of the movie well executed? Because I was sitting there for ages and I was like, well, I'm going to be here forever if I ask every single thing. So yeah, so I settled on, was the plot of the movie well executed? Emma?
Oh, you don't want to hear what I have to say about that. No, in my opinion. But hear me out. So I think if I'd have watched this back in the day when I was a teenager when it came out, so I would have been 16, 17 when it came out, also same as Sarah, I think it would have blown me away. I think I would have gone, whoa, oh my God. But looking at it as someone who's watched so many, my earpiece keeps falling out, sorry guys. That's what slashers and horror, I could see a mile off what they were trying to engage in. And even Chris, my husband, who always thinks it's the Scooby-Doo granddad that's done it, could see all the twists coming out, which is, which means it hasn't worked on him, which is incredible. I was proud of him. I was just like, oh, you guessed it all. That's one scene that completely blew a big plot hole in it, and it was the one where she was talking to him, Emma was talking to Chris, and he was like, don't touch me, and this, that and the other, and they were having a talk about what she'd done with Matthew, Tim, the character Tim, and how upset he was, and then she just started rambling off assumptions about what was happening and unraveling everything and saying, did this happen? Oh my God, did he do that? And it doesn't work for two reasons in my mind. Someone might be able to enlighten me, maybe I've got it wrong, but one, if she knew about everything all along, that scene doesn't work because it's just the two of them there and they're not trying to fake anything else out. If she didn't and she was just about to be brought in on it, the dialogue doesn't work because all the assumptions she said would not come out of her mouth. That wouldn't be, if your friend had just died and you're upset, that wouldn't be the thing that came out of your mouth. So for me, that one scene tore apart everything that they'd done. So that for me, I was like, okay, now I know what's going on or not going on. But if they've done this, they've missed the mark a little bit there. Just my opinion. I don't know, Josh or Sarah, different idea.
I kind of thought, I don't know why I thought this, but I kind of thought she had her own separate agenda, completely separate from them, and then came into it later on when she figured out what was happening. That's kind of what I thought, but I could be wrong.
For me, would make the dialogue wrong.
Yeah, it would make the dialogue wrong. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, for me, it didn't seem normal, like a normal thing to say. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's just my opinion.
Yeah, no, it's just, but I think that's when she was brought in. But yeah, it doesn't make the dialogue make sense in that respect. Oh dear, we always find little plot holes. Oh, how about you, Josh? Do you think the plot was well executed?
I agree with Emma. I wasn't paying quite as much attention to the details of like the conversations and stuff, but I do agree that it was all just a bit sort of disjointed and things didn't quite follow on from what you'd already seen. And like one moment that really stood out to me was when Dana Delaney from Desperate Housewives, who was playing the counselor, there's that great moment when Matthew Lillard and Kerry Russell have been having that conversation, and he's basically just like stitched the mate up, and it pans across to reveal the counselor's overheard the whole thing. And so it was like, okay, did he know she was there? And if not, why did he say all that stuff? Was it just to convince Kerry Russell, or was it, or did he know that the counsellor was there, so he was trying to like get that information in circulation? And then she didn't do anything with it, as far as I could tell, did she?
I don't think she did. She was kind of like I didn't kind of get the point of her character other than being fabulous. But
I thought she was the best character in the film, but she didn't make sense.
Yeah, definitely. Oh, how about you, Sarah? Did you think the plot was well executed?
I don't know. I spent a lot of the movie confused. I saw the plot come in, but I'm still slightly confused by elements of it, and I'm not sure whether it's because I didn't understand or whether it was just badly plotted. And I think also the red herrings, I spotted so many red herrings, and I was like, oh, that's very clearly a placed clue. Like when she does the pregnancy test and she's standing in front of the mirror, and you're like, okay, she's pregnant, but then it turns out she's not pregnant. Then it turns out that she is pregnant at the end. And like she wakes up in the middle of the night and rolls over, and Matthew's there. And I was like, oh, that's creepy. But no, it's not creepy. It's a red herring. Like, so I honestly, I don't know whether it's me or whether they were very, very cleverly plotted. I just can't decide.
Well, it's funny though, because there was one point where I was convinced, right, that here we go. I was convinced that Matthew Lillard's character had slept with the psychologist woman, because he came into his room chewing the red licorice stuff.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, she's in on it. She's got to be in on it, because he's coming chewing the red licorice. And they made a big point of her coming off the cigarettes, didn't they, eating the sweets and with that red chew in her mouth. And I was like, oh, so were they in it together?
Lollipop, and I was like, this is not very professional of you, lad.
Yeah, but he came into the room like with one of those red licorice sticks, or that's what it looked like. And I was like, oh, okay. So I was then, at that point, I was convinced we were in on it together. So I was like really way off base.
That's pretty cool, Shelley. That's a cool.
I think they were just throwing a load of stuff. I think they just threw out everything
and just throw it out and just confuse us all. Yeah. Well, one thing that Kev couldn't get past, like right from the beginning, was he was like, the thing is, at the very beginning, when they throw what's his name, Rand over the side, they've got DNA all on the bottles, on the stuff. They've got the rat poison in the bottles, unless there wasn't really rat poison, I'm guessing, in there. And then obviously the one character
across the ground.
Yeah, DNA all across the ground. And then Chris
he threw up.
Yes, they'd be like, and no one cleaned that up. So,
but
and
did
the police.
See the cops? The cops
What did you think of the police investigation in this? Like, that to me was the pure comedy element. How about you, Josh? Did you think the same?
Just completely outrageously inept.
So point horror.
Yeah, they kind of had to be, didn't they?
Yeah. Oh, how about you, Sarah? What do you think of the cops and the security guard?
Yeah, he was brilliant. I loved him. Yeah, no, but yeah, completely ineffectual. Like there was no investigation going on. There was so much but maybe that's because we all have Netflix now. Maybe we watch loads of true crime. I don't know.
Could be.
Yeah. No, ridiculous. And at one point, did everyone else spot them playing darts with Vince Vaughn's face?
Yeah.
What was that?
I don't know. I thought, is there some beef going on here? Yeah, it was very random.
Yeah. Brilliant. No, love them.
How about you, Emma? What do you think of the police work?
Well, that did make me laugh, probably for all the wrong reasons. But I agree with both Sarah and Josh. There was no police procedurals whatsoever. I was like, what are they doing? I don't think that would fly with anything British, because they're so into the police procedurals over here that you wouldn't get away with that. The British audience was like, what are you doing? There was comedy going though, I must admit, because it was just so ridiculous. It was ridiculous is the right word.
It's like even to the point where they give Matthew Lillard's character a lift over campus after they finish interviewing him. Oh dear. But then I kind of looked at that a little bit of like how Tim's character can manipulate anybody in a situation. That's how it came across. Like he even manipulated the police to give him a lift across campus kind of thing, which I thought was pretty clever in one way. Larissa said about the scene we was talking about earlier with what was her name now? Was it Emma with Kerry Russell's character? Wasn't the best scene. Maybe an attempt at a red herring would explain it. Yeah, possibly. Melina said, I thought she had her own agenda because of that initial pregnancy test scene. She looked most suspicious. Yeah, I'd love to know the answer to that. If it was like two separate and then they came together, I'd
Like,
love
so
to
did she
know.
have a grudge? Did she have a grudge against her friend or something? Because her
No, I
friend's
think she just
the
really,
one who
really
ended up
wanted that
actually dead.
4.0.
Right. I felt
Maybe.
sorry for the friend. She was
Oh,
really messed around.
yeah. What did you think of her character? What was her name now? I
Natalie,
should write these names
is
down.
it?
Natalie, yes. So what did you think of Natalie? Did you feel really sorry for her then, Josh?
Yeah, I wanted her to like actually speak up for herself and
Yeah.
punch that idiot of a
Oh,
boyfriend. You know, he's just,
horrible.
she kind of took a lot of abuse, and I don't know, she's
Mm,
obviously in like an emotional turmoil, but
mm,
it took a lot for her to eventually yell back at him, and she only yelled at him when Emma was sort of like speaking in her ear, kind of thing.
yeah,
So,
that's true.
oh yeah, I felt really
Yeah.
bad for her, and I felt like her death was just completely glossed over, and there was
Mm,
like very much a throwaway line about, well, I guess she's not in Canada, kind of
yeah.
thing.
No vigil
Yeah.
for her.
Yeah, exactly. I felt really bad for her. It's terrible.
Yeah. How about you, Sarah? What did you feel sorry for Natalie?
I did. I think this was like my biggest issue with the whole movie was that she didn't get any character development. She didn't get a plot. She didn't get any kind of arc. And I don't entirely understand how she slotted into the movie apart from to make Rand look like a douche.
Mm,
And also now when you realise that it was all a hoax and it was
yeah.
it was a trick, why were they treating her like that?
Yeah.
Like what was the purpose of that? Is he just that bad of a person? Are we
Mm,
rooting for the wrong person here? So yeah, I really had an issue with Natalie.
Because I was kind of saying, because me and Kev were chatting about it, and I was saying, well, was the original target always going to be Natalie? So that, I feel awful for saying it, but that was like a natural, unaliving kind of thing, rather than someone intentionally doing it to her. So was that the plan all along? But then that would only give Kerry Russell's character the 4.0 and not the male character. So yeah, there's so many things like when you get to the end, like just go around your head, which is quite.
Yeah, and if she wasn't in it from the beginning, then why would they both come up with the same idea?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh dear.
Yeah, so Kerry would get the 4.0 because I was like, oh, why is she doing it? But she would get it because Natalie took.
Yeah.
Mm.
That's what.
Okay.
And I was like, oh, okay. So, but then, yeah, then I took myself out of it a little bit. Did you feel sorry for Natalie, Emma?
I did. I felt sorry for all the roles of the women in this because the men got to do some quite interesting dialogue and quite interesting things and be rageful and crazy and all that. And the girls were just like freestanding lamps. They weren't Sydney. They weren't Sydney's best friend. They
Yeah.
weren't any, gal. They didn't have any substance whatsoever. So I was like, I felt quite sorry for the actresses because I was like, yeah, punch him in the face. Like Josh was like, give him a clump. It would have been great if she'd have just decked him or something. But yeah, I felt like none of them really had, and even Emma was supposed to be the bad girl, and I'm like, I didn't feel she was that bad. I feel she was just like, meh, I'm just going to go along and do this. She wasn't quite evil enough for me.
Yeah, I felt even like towards, especially at the end scene, I felt she was out of her depth. Like she was like, "Uh-oh, what have I got myself into?" Definitely.
In the dark time.
Yeah. Larissa said Shelley always going for the wild card with my theories. Yeah. Matthew said, yeah, I agree with what my husband Kev said about the police. So we didn't but we didn't have as many forensic shows then as we do now, so nobody was thinking about that back then. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, definitely. Larissa said Natalie was an unfortunate case of collateral damage. Matthew said I agree with Emma, I think that's meant to say. They could have utilised Kerry Russell a lot more. She's such a fantastic actress. Yeah, she really is. The Americans is one of the best shows ever. Oh, I have to check that out.
I don't think I've seen The Americans.
No, I haven't. So obviously there was lots of twists, like as we have discussed, but were the twists impactful? Like, were they explored enough to be meaningful as the viewer? Or I'm taking, because we've got a bit of confusion, so I'm taking it the answer is going to be no, we got confused. But Josh, were they impactful? Did any of them make you go, oh?
I felt like they were mostly done for shock value, and I felt like they kind of wanted to make you feel like they were cleverer than they actually were. You know, there was like the double cross right at the end that you kind of knew that Rand was alive because you need to confirm the kill. You know, there's no, you don't see him go over the edge of the cliff, so he's alive. I thought the twists would only really work if they were actually saying something meaningful about what this story was all about. But the twists didn't really add up to anything more than, oh, it's competitive getting into Harvard, isn't it? You know, that was it essentially.
No, it's true. How about you, Sarah? Did the twists, did any of them shock you or have an impact?
No, I think they fell into kind of three categories. Like, one, I expected them, like, he was definitely, like, he wasn't dead. He was definitely coming back at some point. Two, I didn't care. Like, I don't care that she wasn't pregnant. And three, I was just confused. Like, is the gun loaded? Is the gun not loaded? I've completely lost track, and I don't care anymore.
Oh, how about you, Emma? Did any of the twists get you?
No, I saw them all, but I was hoping it wasn't what I was seeing. So I was hoping that wasn't going to happen. I would have liked your twist. It slept with the counsellor, and him and the counsellor was bumping them all off. That would have been great.
Yeah,
but
that's what I think. Yeah.
Everyone else was saying, you know, we knew he wasn't dead. They needed to do it a bit better than that. They needed to kind of confirm a death, even if they dragged a body out of the water and it wasn't his, and it was something that was, you know, somebody else, because that's a known place for people being lemmings. I don't want to say anything to get us in trouble. So I didn't think that really worked. And I also didn't think it worked that they were rich boys, because there was a big scandal in America, if I remember rightly, years ago, about kids in that time frame in the 90s paying their way to university or something like that, paying for their grades. So I think if they were that rich, like a number of that came out of that scandal, they would have just paid their grades. So it would have been better for a student who didn't have any privilege, who was trying to get into the Harvard, because it would have been much more difficult for them. So I didn't buy that the rich guys were you know, trying to get in. I felt their parents could have smoothed over their grade with a bit of cash. So I would have that would have been a better angle. But yeah, the twists, even Chris sort of saw the twists coming, which was interesting. But I do think that when I was a teenager, I might have gone, I might not have even, you know, seen it. I wouldn't have seen it coming, I don't think.
I have to admit, like, I didn't obviously I knew they didn't find Rand's body, but I didn't think he would be alive. I don't know why. I don't know. I think I was too wrapped up in my whole the psychologist woman theory that I just like. So I was a bit like, he's alive, like a little bit. So it did get me, but I'm easily gullible like that. We know. So, but I've just seen, like, as Narissa said, I've just felt like it was a fun ride, and sometimes that's all it needs to be. And that's how I just went along for the ride, thinking this is so point horror. And like, I know that 13-year-old me watching this film, or younger me, would definitely be like, Matthew Lillard, but then also shocked at the twists. So I definitely think younger me would have been more like, like really like aghast at the things. But I was a little bit confused at the end, because when you start thinking about these things, very much like with a point horror, you start picking little plot holes and you think, wait, wait a second. Matthew said, again, I agree with Larissa. I pretty much figured out it. Sorry, my brain just suddenly stopped. I pretty much figured out it was to go along with it for the ride of the films. That's what I did, yeah. And Narissa said, to be fair, I was 13 on first viewing, so have a different experience than people watching it in 2025. Yeah, definitely agree on that. Narissa said Michael Barton's character was on a scholarship and wasn't rich, though. Yeah, I did wonder that. Okay, I didn't pick that bit up.
But was he too boring to get into Harvard? That's the question. Probably not, actually.
And Matthew said, yeah, if the lighthouse was so infamous for people doing that, you'd think they would have put up a fence or something at the cliff. Yeah, that's very true. Melina said, I didn't engage with the character, so didn't really care much about the twists. Yeah. I mean, one character.
I thought Tim and Chris were going to get together.
Yeah.
At one moment.
Yes.
When he got down on his knees, I was like, oh, hang on. Hang on a minute.
I had the remote control ready to pause. But yeah, talking about Tim, so obviously Tim was played by Matthew Lillard. And what did we think of his performance in this film? Like, were you a fan of his performance or of him in general, Sarah?
Yeah, he's brilliant. He's just so good at doing creepy and the kind of funny that you're not really sure whether you're meant to laugh or not because it's a bit too close to the knuckle. And that one scene where he was gonna bash him with a rock and he was like, that was disturbing and brilliant.
Because he's like that unhinged, you don't know whether he would actually do it. I love that. How about you, Emma? Did you like his character in this, or are you just a fan in general?
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Matthew, absolutely. Not only is he very pretty, but he also is a great actor. So, he does. You could watch him doing anything, like painting a wall. Would watch him, you know. So I think he did as best he could with the script he was given. Because I do think the weakness is the script, and whenever I look at something, I'm like, is the script, and that's what Alfred Hitchcock always says: the script. And so he did what he could with the material that he was given, and he was great to watch. I enjoyed his performance very much. I always do. Everything he does. And like Sarah says, he always does that creepy kind of awkward guy that's, kind of a little bit magnetic, but not really like drawn to him, but like, oh no. I thought he was excellent. Very, very good.
How about you, Josh? Did you like his performance?
Yeah, I agree with Sarah and Emma. I think it was interesting watching it knowing that he'd been Stu. And everyone thinks of him as Stu, and he kind of leans into that. I think it's in some ways like a looser performance than with Stu, because Stu was like such a controlled, specific character that I think probably he had strong direction in terms of like where to pull back and where to go fully crazy. And I think with this film, he was kind of just crazy throughout to the same degree, it's interesting that he's only now really, I think they struggled to find roles for him. So he was great in like She's All That and obviously Scooby-Doo and stuff, but he's only now really starting to become the character actor that he always was. But he's kind of, now he's older, he's kind of being allowed to do it, I guess, because he's got that nostalgic thing to him. So
definitely. And I know when I've seen him talk at like Comic Cons and things, he's obviously so appreciative of his past, but he also appreciates, obviously he's very aware and honest about the lull that he had in between that success, because he thought he would always have that success after that. And he's very humble about it and very honest as well. I mean, even to the fact of like Scooby-Doo, because obviously he was doing the voiceover for the Scooby-Doo cartoons after the movies, but they kind of replaced him with someone else. And didn't really tell him. But I think he is back now doing
He's
those.
back now, yeah.
Which is great. So even like that, he's like, you can just be so easily replaced, just like that. It's just so unpredictable. So I'm loving seeing his new surge of films and popularity. Definitely.
Very original, that was Shelley. And what's he like in real life? What did you think of him? What was he
Honestly,
like?
right, I know I'm going and all that, but he's such a nice man. Like, people were going for photos, and he would do, people were asking him to do certain poses, whatever, and not all the actors, when you go for photos, like, oblige and do that. I did have someone turn around, Handsome Mount, turn around and say, no, it's just a normal photo to me. So I was like, oh, okay, no problem.
He's a diva.
But yeah,
he was the one on Urban Legends Final Cut.
Yeah.
He was the only actor that the director got into fights with, because Handsome Mount had like a
It's
bit of
not
a
you,
diva.
Shelley.
Yeah.
Exactly,
So
sorry.
no, it's all right. But yeah, so he was like, he's so good with the fans and things. Like, I literally went up to him and I said, can you just like me? Like, strangle me? And he's like, yeah. He like whipped me in front of him and just like grabbed my neck. And he actually did press a little bit hard, And I was like, oh, I'm here for it.
Never let go.
I stood there a little bit longer than I should have. No, but he's honestly, and even I got my picture signed like the next day after, and even like when you go up to the table, he just takes the time with the fans, because I just think he's so appreciative of, like, what they've done. Yeah, he did come across really genuine. And even like during his talks, he's just so honest and things like that. So he was lovely. Karen said, Shelley, Matthew Lillard is like me, in Devon Sawyer. Yeah, that's so true. Larissa said, I think I saw this before Scream, so I didn't have that experience. That's interesting. Yeah. Larissa said a straight dramatic role for him. Yeah. Narissa said, have only ever heard really positive things. Yeah, he's really great with the fans. Really, really great. And then one final question from me is, if they had got their 4.0s, do you think, because they're all such unlikable characters, do you think they would have got into Harvard? Or would they have just messed it up somehow anyway, even after going through everything that they did, if they got away with it? Josh?
Would they have gotten in? Yeah, why not?
I love that.
Yeah, I don't know.
Oh, Emma, what do you think?
I think they would have gone. I think they would have got in. Absolutely. I think one of them would have dropped out. One of them would have been dead drunk the whole time, and the other one would have killed someone else.
Yeah, that's what I think. Oh, and how about you, Sarah? Do you think they still would have got into Harvard?
Yeah, no, I agree. They would have been. I think they were all playing games, so many games, and they just seemed to enjoy it. So I think they would have just carried on doing the same kind of thing. They would have all gone south.
See, that's what I would think I would have liked to have seen. Not necessarily a sequel, but maybe like a little extension to the film of them all going after each other. Last Man Standing kind of thing. Oh, title. Last Man Standing.
Good one. They would have ended up at Harvard at the same time as Elle Woods.
Yeah.
Because she got into Harvard in like the year 2000.
Yeah. Because it was Matthew Lillard's character who wanted to do Harvard Law, right?
Yeah.
And the other one wanted to do Harvard Business.
There you go.
See, look, they missed out.
Would have straightened them out.
Definitely. Matthew put, I first saw Matthew Lillard in Serial Mum back in the early 90s. Oh, yeah. And he definitely stood out in the cast even then. He puts his all in the role, that's for sure. Yeah, definitely. Oh, the descendants being the dramatic role, not his. Oh, yeah. Sorry, Marissa. Sometimes I think I miss things in the comments and then I get a bit confused. Matthew said, I think they would have all gotten eaten alive by bigger fish in the pond of Harvard business. Yeah. Been well out of their depth. And Marissa said, yep, all out for themselves and F anyone else. Yeah. Oh, but I think overall, I know we've found a few little plot holes, but I had fun with it, but purely mainly because of Matthew Lillard, to be honest. So, yeah, but not sure. Would you watch it again, Josh?
Yeah, I'd watch it again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. How about you?
Fun.
Yeah. How about you, Emma? No, not for Emma. Not for Emma.
I did watch it though, because I did like Matthew's performance, and I'm really glad I did watch it. Thank you, Nerissa. I think that it was a good choice. Definitely a good
really
one.
Good.
Point horror. It was very point horror cheesy. So it totally works in that respect.
Yeah, no, said I'm glad no one hated it. Would you watch it again, Sarah?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm quite happy to just be taken along for the ride and ignore all the plot holes.
Yeah, and just not have to think about it and just enjoy it for what it is. Now we know what the plot is and things. Oh, Sarah, I thought you just moved your chair then. I thought there was someone behind. If you look back at the playback then you'll see me. I did literally jump. I was like
Sorry.
Oh, my little heart. Sorry. Oh, dear.
That would be a good horror movie. Dear. I was off now.
Oh, no!
You lot did it.
Stop!
I think Emma did it.
Mr. Slicey. Larissa said, yeah, got to appreciate some 90s pulp. Yeah, and that's what I think for me, I really appreciated. Like, it was just, if there was a film that was pure 90s, this film just summed it up for me. Just everything was just like so pulpy and
Can I ask,
nostalgic.
When you watched it, was your version in widescreen or was it in like the 4:3 square old-fashioned TV size?
Old-fashioned TV.
Yeah, mine was as well.
It must have been, and I didn't notice. Yeah, must have been.
Because that made me think of first. I was like, oh, it's a TV movie that was made for teenagers in the 90s.
Yeah,
but no, it's a theatrical.
Yeah.
So
Matthew said, once I figured out it was 90s pulp movie, I relaxed and just had a lot of fun with it, like St. Elmo's Fire from Hell. Yeah. Sharon said she loves St. Elmo's Fire. And Nerissa said, is it any wonder my point horror pike loving teen self loved this? Yeah. And thank you for suggesting it, Nerissa. I'm so glad that we watched it, because it just was like watching a point horror to me. I was just like, yeah, I'm here for it. Oh, but guys, thanks for chatting about it, and thanks for giving it a watch. And it's unusual for us not to have all seen it, or not to have all even heard of it. So yeah, brilliant. And do check out Stranded and Exiled by Sarah Daniels. I'll put them up in my stories after the chat. And obviously, as I said before, Joshua winning. No, Josh winning.
Full name.
Sorry. I don't know why I do that every time, Joshua. It's because I'm enforcing it. I'm like, do it. Oh, and do check out Emma as well. She's got some brilliant short stories in these like really gruesome, scary covers. I have to put these like backwards on my shelves because they're like, wow, scary. I have to hide them from myself.
By your face when you're sleeping. Wake up to.
Yeah, can you imagine? I mean, sometimes I do wake up and I'm like, ooh. So that's just normally at Kev though, so But anyway. Oh, thanks guys, and thanks to everyone in the comments and for watching along with us as well. And we'll see you next month. Thanks guys.
Bye.
Bye.